Hello everybody, Chris with VEI Communication in our Seymour shop today. I think I'm going to do a segment that's called What's on My Workbench. Just got done putting this together and programming it up. This is a single deck dual head setup on one of our Kenwood Mobile Radios, and this one happens to be a VHF radio with NXDN. So this is going to go in a chief's command vehicle, and we're going to have one radio head near the driver's seat or the officer's seat so they can utilize the radio there. Radio is going to go someplace under a seat, out of the way, where it won't be in the way at all. And then the back of the vehicle is going to have another radio head, and that way you pull onto the scene as a chief, you can communicate while you're en route. You have your radio here, you jump out when you get to the scene and assume incident command, and then you go to the back, you open up the vehicle where all your command tools are at, and you have a second head and you can communicate there. So that's the intent of this particular setup. Also very applicable for an ambulance or a bus, whatever you might particularly call it. You have a head up for the driver, so you have the patient in the back, driver leaves the scene, you know, ambulance 1, this is our dispatch, this is ambulance 1, we've, en route to the hospital, here's our mileage, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then at one point, the medic or the paramedic in the back is going to have assessed the patient, and they're going to want to tell the hospital an update. And so they'll go to the head that's mounted in the back of the ambulance. They could change the channel to, the hospital frequency or channel, whatever it might be, and they can hit up the hospital with their patient report. And you're just utilizing one radio to do that. Having the mobile radio mounted in the ambulance is a lot nicer than trying to mess with that portable radio inside the box. And so that's another applicable setup for this. And really, anywhere you could imagine that two heads would be great, you could do this type of a setup. And in fact, we're doing a setup at a firehouse that's a 2-story firehouse, living quarters upstairs, and administration stuff downstairs, kitchens downstairs. So we're putting one radio head in the admin area and another radio head upstairs. So during the day, they can talk on the radio. And then at night, if tones drop and they need to get dispatch on the horn for some more information, they just walk over on the second floor and get on the radio. Don't have to hustle downstairs to get on the radio. So that's another great application. So some variations to this. You can just have the remote head if that's all you want. Sometimes it's great to have this tucked in under a seat. You don't have to have the second head. And I said earlier this is a VHF NXDN, but what if you wanted a 700, 800 megahertz radio in, say, P25, because maybe that's what the state system runs? Well, we can do that. We just put another radio on. Now you've got a multi-deck, multi-head setup, and you got 2 decks. So I got my bottom deck running VHF NXDN, or it could be running DMR. And I got my top deck here that's running 700 to 800 megahertz on P25 for a state system. But wait, what if maybe I have a school system on UHF DMR? Well, I can put a third deck on. So my bottom deck's running VHF on NXDN, my middle deck's running 700 to 800 on P25, and my top deck is running UHF on DMR. You got 2 heads, and there's different head configurations. You could get one that's a little bigger than this, one that's just I call it like a covert mic, where all the controls are on the mic. And so maybe you have a covert mic for one head, and then you have a regular head for the other. So there's a lot of different configuration options, but put these back in the order that I got them. This is what I was working on today, so this is what's on my bench.